I didn't buy the ranch for peace, but I also didn't expect war to arrive in a beige SUV with an HOA decal peeling off the bumper. The land had been my grandfather's, passed down with a thick envelope of deeds, surveys, and handwritten notes warning about neighbors who forget where their authority ends. He'd been right. The ranch sat just beyond the boundary of a sprawling, gated community that believed its bylaws were stronger than county law. My gate was old but solid, iron-framed, and clearly marked with private property signs. It had stood for decades without issue and decided it was inconvenient. Her first drive-through happened on a Tuesday morning. I was mending fence near the creek when I heard the crunch of gravel where no car should be. I looked up and saw her SUV rolling straight through my open gate like it belonged to her. She didn't slow, didn't wave, didn't acknowledge me at all. She treated my land like a shortcut, a private road she'd mentally annexed. I assumed it was a mistake. People make those. I closed the gate behind her and went back to work. The next morning, she did it again. This time, the gate was closed. She pushed it open with her bumper, metal screaming against metal, and left it swinging wide. I watched from the porch, coffee cooling in my hand, as she sped across my pasture, narrowly missing my cattle. When I confronted her at the far fence line, she rolled down her window just enough to speak, sunglasses firmly in place. She told me the HOA had always used that route and that I was being difficult. Then she drove off. I contacted the HOA that afternoon. I spoke calmly, professionally, and referenced parcel numbers, easements, and county maps. The man on the phone sounded bored. He told me they'd look into it. They didn't. Instead, the drive-throughs increased. Morning, afternoon, evening. Sometimes she brought friends. Sometimes delivery trucks followed her lead. My gate became a revolving door of entitlement. The signs were ignored. The chains were cut. Once I found the gate completely removed and laid flat in the dirt. When I reinstalled it, I added locks, heavy ones. Karen responded by calling the sheriff and reporting that I was blocking a community access road. The deputy who arrived walked the land with me, reviewed the documents, and apologized for wasting my time. He warned me, quietly, that the HOA president was known for escalating conflicts. Document everything, he said. I took his advice seriously. Karen escalated first. She drove through the locked gate one afternoon and snapped the chain clean off. Her SUV left a gouge in the soil deep enough to break an ankle. That night, one of my calves went missing. The next morning, I found trash dumped near the creek edge. OA lawn waste bags filled with clippings and branches. It wasn't subtle. It was a message. I sent a certified letter to the HOA outlining trespass violations and damages. citing state statutes and demanding immediate cessation. Their response came a week later, dripping with condescension. They claimed historical access rights, implied adverse possession, and threatened fines if I interfered with community traffic flow. They attached a blurry, outdated map that conveniently erased my property line. I laughed out loud when I read it, then stopped laughing when Karen drove through the gate again while I was standing there. This time, I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I simply stepped aside and let her pass, noting the time, the plate number, and the fresh scrape she left on the gatepost. That night, I called a contractor I'd used years ago for livestock barriers. I asked him one question: how do I stop a vehicle without breaking the law? He answered with one word: steel bollards are not decorative. They're not subtle. They're vertical declarations of finality. I ordered 6 of them, industrial grade, reinforced steel, designed to stop a truck at speed. We sank them 3 feet into concrete along the gate line, spaced just wide enough for my tractor to narrow for an SUV from the road. They looked like nothing more than dark metal posts. From behind the wheel, they were an impassable wall. The next morning, Karen arrived on schedule. She didn't see the bollards until it was too late to speed up. She slammed on the brakes, tires screaming, bumper inches from steel. She leaned out the window and screamed at me across the pasture, calling me names that echoed off the hills. I recorded the entire thing. When she tried to maneuver between the posts and scraped her vehicle, I recorded that too. She called the police. Again, 2 patrol cars showed up this time, lights flashing like she'd uncovered a crime scene. Karen stormed toward them, waving HOA papers and shouting about obstruction. The officers listened, then walked the line of bollards, examined the survey stakes I'd placed, and asked her one simple question: do you own this land? She didn't answer. She just stared at me like I'd committed a personal betrayal. The HOA sent a lawyer, then another, then a cease and desist letter that threatened lawsuits, liens, and community action. I responded through my own attorney, attaching drone footage, witness statements, police reports, and a log of 47 documented trespasses. The tone changed immediately. Their next letter was shorter, more cautious. They asked for mediation. I declined. Karen didn't stop trying. She attempted to drive across the pasture at night, avoiding the gate entirely. Motion lights triggered. Cameras rolled. The sheriff arrived before she made it back to the road. This time, she was cited for trespassing. The fine was minor, but the embarrassment wasn't. Her face appeared in the local paper under a headline about property disputes and misuse of HOA authority. That should have ended it. It didn't. The HOA tried to vote on acquiring an easement through my land. The county denied it. They tried to pressure neighboring landowners. One by one, those neighbors told them to back off. The HOA board fractured under the scrutiny. Financial records surfaced, fines misapplied, funds misused. Karen resigned for personal reasons shortly before an audit began. The Bollards stayed. The gate stayed locked. The pasture healed. Grass grew back over tire scars. The creek ran clear again. One afternoon, months later, I saw a new HOA president standing at the road, staring at the gate. He didn't cross it. He just nodded, as if acknowledging a boundary that should have been obvious all along. I didn't install the bollards out of spite. I installed them because some people don't understand words, signs, or laws. They understand limits only when those limits are immovable. Steel doesn't argue. Concrete doesn't negotiate. And private property, when defended properly, doesn't apologize. By the time the story spread online, people called it petty, vindictive, excessive. They didn't see the nights spent repairing fences, the livestock put at risk, the constant invasion dressed up as entitlement. They didn't stand where I stood, watching someone treat my family's land like a convenience. Karen never drove through my gate again. And every time I passed those steel posts, sunk deep and silent, I'm reminded that boundaries don't exist to provoke conflict. They exist to end it.